Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? Is there any additions or deletions? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll move approval of the agenda as circulated.
Okay, thank you.
My fault, I was not paying attention.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Oh, it's one of those days. I would like to add to the agenda discussion on water from the Mariner Center, is that allowed, if I'm allowed? Giving water to our residents, the drought, however you would like me to
I guess,
phrase that.
Councillor, I would kind of rephrase that. You'd like to
Yes.
have something pertaining to the drought?
That's.
Discussion
yes.
on the drought issue.
I'm telling you, nothing's going to come out right tonight. Yes, I would like to have a discussion about some of our residents have been having issues with their wells going dry and
Okay.
how we might support that.
Okay. Question, Council, all right with that? There doesn't have to be any information, it's just an open discussion. What is your wishes? Has to be 2/3? Is the mover of the agenda all right with that?
Yeah, I'll move it as amended.
Okay, been moved as amended. Do we have a seconder? Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll add that under, I wish my computer would just work a little better. Under business arising. Would we put that under business arising under new business? New business? And we'd put that under 8.8? Is that fine? Is that all right? Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes of July 10th, July 18th, July 24th. What is the wishes? Councillor LeBlanc.
I move for the approval of the minutes of July the 10th, 2019, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. July the 10th, 2019, Public Transcript meeting minutes. July the 18th, 2019, Public Transcript meeting minutes. July the 24th, 2019, Regular Council meeting minutes. And July the 24th, 2019, Public Transcript meeting minutes.
It's been moved by Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5, Warden's remarks. Ladies and gentlemen of my remarks this evening are going to be very short. I've kind of broken it down into groups of things that have happened in the month of August. The Shark Scramble, which was just held here 2 weekends ago, was a great success, a lot of participation. One of our fellow councillors was the captain of one of the boats, and I had a discussion with him. He had a group of people from the Valley area, and they enjoyed themselves tremendously and have committed to come back next year and so on, as I believe a lot of the captains of the boats. He did also inform me that it just so happened there was a couple of people that were there taking pictures and so on, and they asked to participate, and they went out on one of the boats, and they took a lot of video, took a lot of pictures, and Bobby Gable has asked them, they're going to make a video or combine of their pictures and so on for that. I think that's great. The Shark Scramble is something that everybody seems to enjoy, especially the Department of Fisheries and so on. They get a lot of information and so on. And as we're well aware, I think we've heard that there's been the sighting of the white shark and so on here off I think Cape St. Mary's, was it, down in Pubnico? Yes, Tuscot Islands and so on. Close to Mud Island or something like that in that area. Seal Island and so on.
And for the couple, there was a couple that took part in the shark tournament.
Yes.
And they were from Britain. They were from all the way over from England, and they happened to be on the waterfront, seeing what was going on, asked if they could participate. The tournament found them a boat to go on with a father and a son, and they had quite an experience. I got to talk to them, and they
Yeah.
had quite an experience.
Yeah.
And
I'm
they
glad.
they're on tour. That's what they do. They're photographers, and they're just on tour. They're just going around. And yeah, they had quite a few stories they're gonna be able to tell, I guess. So.
It would be to, I believe, our advantage if we could find out from Bobby Gable if he has their addresses and so on. It'd be nice for the municipality maybe to send a note of thanks and so on, and encouragement and so on of this nature. That would be good for us to do. The other thing that just wrapped up this past weekend is we're all well aware in Wedgeport, the Tuna Festival, and this was, I believe, their 16th year, I think, of doing that. And it went over very, very well. A lot of participation. They had 22 tuna? I think, something like that. And, yeah, in that area. It is, I'm very pleased that that's back in the festival or in the area again. It's very beneficial to everybody, and kudos to that organization and to Argyle for that. The month of August also seen the seafood and wine extravaganza, both on the waterfront and at the Grand Hotel. They had a great turnout at the Grand Hotel. As they did, they had a sellout down on the waterfront for their seafood on Saturday morning and so on. The other big thing that's happening, it's been a great success. It's grown year after year, and the municipality from day one has always been a big supporter of, and that's the coal shed. Kudos to Phil DeMille and Janice DeMille for the work and so on, and to the rest of the committee that do such great work. That one festival, though it's spread over the 3 weekends, brings a lot of other people from other parts of the Atlantic Canada to perform, not just to listen, but to perform, and it gives them the opportunity to come to Yarmouth, because I've found it, over my time as a councillor, I find it hard to accept that when I'm in Halifax, that if I stop and talk to people, you ever been to Yarmouth? No. Some people don't even know where Yarmouth is. So anytime a festival or anything brings people from another part of Atlantic Canada, and well, this year they had people from the States that were touring, doing country and western, and they hooked in to Phil, and that was part of, they wanted to come here to the Coal Shed Festival. They wanted to come, so it was a good thing. The other thing is, and I have to mention this one because the municipality had a team, and was the J Strong tournament, golf tournament, and I've been a supporter of that. Although I don't swing a club, I do support it in the thoughts that it's a good tournament, and it brings a lot of people together, a lot of discussion and so on for a young gentleman and so on who passed away tragically. But our team, I don't know, none of us as councillors was on that, were they? You were on there? I'm sorry. I apologize. I knew we had a team. You were the backbone. So I guess, so how did we do? Did we fare, who was your team members? Can you elaborate on the team members?
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but we had a kind of a stacked team.
Okay,
We had our CAO,
okay.
and of course there was myself, and come on,
Right,
yeah,
right.
and our
Yeah,
recreation director, and then we had our project manager for the new
Mark. No,
Dean Fuller.
Dean Fuller.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was interesting. It was a lot of fun, and despite what people might say about going out and playing golf, there was a lot of networking done with other people, and made some good contacts. I know our CAO made some good contacts, and we're always talking to other people and to make things happen. And it's a wonderful fundraiser to help young youth have the opportunity to play sports.
Yes. Yeah.
It was very
you go.
good.
Yeah. So I just want to know, where did we place? Go ahead.
Again, I guess, nowadays we don't have to have a first place winner and a loser. We were there.
Okay.
But I can say we shot a 2 over or 4 over par. 2 over.
I wasn't there, I just heard 2 3.
There.
They were quite well. They did quite well. Very well.
Also, I want to mention that the month of August, I realize there's a lot of the committees that we sit on and so on usually take the month of August off. But the month of August has been very busy for the municipality. The CAO and myself and some of the staff members, along with some of you as fellow councillors, have still been participating in meetings and discussions here at the municipality. And I just want the residents to know that just because a lot of committees and organizations take the month off, that the municipality keeps rolling forward, and hopefully in the very near future that we'll be able to give you some good announcements to the residents of what's been happening through the summer months. But coming up here in September, I do want to mention it, there is the Sarah Corning, and unveiling at the old Zion Church area and so on. There is also Communities in Bloom, which is also coming up, and I'm not sure, I know that is, they're looking at over 300 delegates from around the world to be here in Yarmouth and so on, and they have quite the festivities set up and so on for them while they're here. The other thing that is coming up, there's another one.
On the rocks at the lighthouse.
Oh, yes, on the rocks at the lighthouse, the seafood wine extravaganza. They're doing something completely different for September, and that is they're doing a Jamaican exchange and so on, where there's 3 chefs coming up from Jamaica, and they're going to be participating, and they have a couple of things going on. There's one over at our lighthouse at Cape Fichu, which is basically an all-day thing on Saturday. You can buy tickets to that. There's going to be a lot of different foods and so on, a lot of Jamaican foods, a lot of local foods. There's a reggae band. I believe there is storytelling both from the Nigma, also from there's going to be somebody from Clear, I believe, telling stories and so on. Especially there's going to be tours of the Leif Erikson Trail and so on, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the biggest things that's going to be happening for the municipality coming up very shortly, and I am not sure if she still plans on participating in Toronto, the film festival, for the opening of the film The Lighthouse and so on. And so that's going to be showing here in Yarmouth. I can't give you the dates, but it will be coming. But I do want to tell you a funny story. I do have Netflix and so on at my house and so on, and Amazon, and I'm flicking through the movies and what comes up there, but there's a movie called The Lighthouse. And I thought, man, it's already on here, but it's not our lighthouse. But it's kind of a similar movie. You ready? There's 2 lighthouse keepers on the lighthouse. And that's it, on a rock, a lighthouse. And I'm not going any further, but ours, I've done a lot of reading and so on. Our movie is going to be top notch, and it is an Oscar contender, so for the actors. So let's look forward to that in the very near future and so on. That is my report at this time, but I will let the citizens know when the council of the municipality of Yarmouth, as you may notice the first of our meeting when I started giving my report, the camaraderie that we have as a council is a good working relationship between the 7 of us, along with our staff. We work very well. We don't always agree, but that is not the most important. We work as a unit, and you've seen that here this evening when our CAO, as staff and councillors, can have some fun and so on. And we also participate in different venues and so on, and I believe that's very important. So on behalf of my fellow councillors, to our CEO, thank you to you and Dean for participating, and Frank and so on in that sporting event. On that note, thank you very much. Item number 6, presentations. 6.1, Water Supply Upgrade Lending Program Bylaw W-1028-17, first reading amendments. You had that in your package. What is the wishes of council?
If I could,
Yes,
Mr.
go.
Chair, so you may be thinking, wait a minute, didn't we already approve these bylaws? And yes, you did.
Says the amendments.
We filed the two bylaws, the amended water supply upgrade lending program bylaw and the amended solid waste resource collection and disposal bylaw to the province of Nova Scotia for their review and approval as required by legislation. There are some new administrators on the team who would like to see things done a little bit differently. And so we're under a little bit of a learning curve, and as a result, to make sure that the public clearly understands what we're doing and clearly understands how one bylaw might be repealed or replaced by another, we're bringing them forward to you again. So in the water supply upgrade lending bylaw, we're specifying what the amendments were. For the solid waste resource bylaw, we're repealing 08802 and replacing it with 08819. So we are bringing those back through the process, although the content of the documents has
Yes.
not changed.
Okay. So on 6.1, are we looking for the first reading
Yes,
on the
please, Mr.
amendments?
Chair.
So I will need a, go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the water supply upgrade lending program bylaw W-1028-17, well, actually to approve first reading
Yes.
of this the amended bylaw.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I guess my question is through you to the CAO. Does this not go to a public hearing session at our next regularly scheduled meeting, provided that we can make the time guidelines for the advertisements?
For advertising, that's right, and it would be between first and second reading.
All right, I'm just
Yep.
making that as a
Yep.
clarification, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Was there any further discussion on the motion?
Question on the motion, Mr.
Question
Chair.
on the motion been called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. 6.2, Solid Waste Resource Collection and Disposal Bylaw, S-088-02, the first reading of the repeal. I need a motion.
Fingers on the button. Oh. Oh.
Here. Let's go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Right, I'll move that we repeal the first reading of the solid waste resource collection disposal bylaw S-088-02 and replace that with the first reading, or approve the first reading of the solid waste resource collection and disposal bylaw S-088-19.
Can we do it that way? I
Separate.
think we have to remove that last part. We have to do each one individually.
Oh, I need to do
Councillor.
one, okay,
Each
so
one
I'll
individual.
strike the
Yes.
second part
Yep.
and do it individually, so.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I see here that they're asking for the first reading of the repeal. So does that also mean that there needs to be a public hearing for that repeal of that bylaw as well?
Don't think.
Yep, it's the same
Is it?
process. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
This is the first, since I've been here over the past 11 years, this is the first time that I've ever seen a repeal that we need a public hearing to take away something.
And this is what we're learning from the new administrators. This is what they want to see happening.
Really?
It's a lot of extra work.
I guess
isn't
I'm
it?
gonna have to do a little bit more brushing up on my
Same here.
procedures and policies, because this is new to me.
Yeah.
We
My
have-
apologies for not knowing that, but I really don't.
We're learning too. And we have been in touch with some other municipalities who are experiencing the same thing. But I will say the new administration is being applied the same way across the province. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure. I just found it kind of odd that you have to have a public hearing to take away a bylaw.
Yeah, it never used to be because it was just a new bylaw that replaced that one just fell into place and they've never had to repeal the other one.
I do understand that you need to have a public hearing when you're introducing a
Yeah.
new one, which we'll be doing next, but that, like I said, that's new to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 6.3, wishes of council. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
So I'll move that we approve the first reading of the solid waste resource collection disposal bylaw S-088-19.
Been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Gerard. Any further discussion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on. Business arising, item number 7. 7.1, for your information. Letters from communities, culture and heritage, new library funding model. 7.1.1, June 19th, letter from the municipality of the District of Yarmouth. And
They're just in your package for information, Mr.
it's an
Chairman.
information only. Was there any questions or concerns with that? If you've read it, or when you read it, or to bring forward? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
I guess from reading this, essentially, we're going to receive additional information as it becomes available. That's what the minutes are saying there. So we'll wait for that, and we'd expect we'd get that in due course.
7.2, it's for your information, letters of response from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing per the amendments to the Municipal Government Act. 7.2.1, the July 5th letter from the municipality of Yarmouth. Again, for your information, was there... Deputy Warden, go ahead.
This letter is very short, and I'd like to read it out loud. It says, "Thank you for your letter, July 5th, 2019, regarding amendments to the Municipal Government Act pertaining to the spending powers of municipalities. I appreciate hearing about how the municipality plans to operate in an open and strategic manner by developing bylaws and policy framework to guide the application of the new powers to expend funds." Anyone find anything kind of strange with that?
Any comments from my fellow
I-
councillors?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm not too happy about, it used to be that the provincial and federal governments took care of this, this, and this, and the municipalities took care of different things like that. Now what I'm seeing here, and I'm not happy with it, is an expanded power to allow the municipality, District of Yarmouth, to spend funds on different things that we were never, in my opinion, supposed to spend them on. The separation of powers. What I'm afraid of what's going to happen in the future is, say for example, if they wanted to expand the hospital. The provincial government and federal government say, yeah, well, we'd love to expand your hospital or build a new hospital, but the municipality has to put forward X amount of dollars before we'll go ahead. I'm not happy with that. Like, healthcare and stuff was never supposed to be the intent of the municipality district of Yarmouth or any other municipality across Nova Scotia to take care of, in my opinion. And this is opening up Pandora's box. I personally think that this should be thought about, and the next time that the NSFM meets, I think this should be one of the subjects that we bring forward about concerns about expanded powers of municipalities, because where does it end? Is it next that we're going to have to hire our own Department of Environment? We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of. And I just wanted to express my concerns about that, and I think that we should, in the future, be looking very closely at bringing this forward to the NSFM.
Just 1 second, I lost connectivity here. Waiting for my computer to get back up. Was there any further comment on the feelings? Go ahead, Councillor.
So, Mr. Chair, our question to the minister was really asking about the philosophical nature. We needed more dialogue about, you know, the widening of municipal spending powers and what that really means. I mean, when those are available to us, we can either choose to exercise them or not. I think the important piece is going to be, obviously, if we exercise those, we'll have to have the revenue from somewhere, which again causes me to ask a number of questions. But I think that we should not allow this sort of to slip. We should really work together with our partner municipalities to see just how this legislation is used by all our partner municipalities, because there will be some pressure to provide services that other municipalities choose to provide, and that may, at the end, cause some upward pressure on our tax rate. So this is something we should really, as much as we're asking the province a question, we should be asking ourselves the question: what do we intend to do with this, both as an individual municipal unit and have those conversations with others? Because really it gives you the ability, but doesn't it doesn't compel you to do anything, essentially, but may in fact over time. I don't know what the impact or the result will be of it, but we need to monitor it pretty closely, I would think. So I'm bringing that up is something to think about maybe over the next few months, about how we might, so maybe to staff, how we might monitor what's going on with this change in legislation and what impact it really is having on the ground, and how we might respond to that impact over time.
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So we do have policy work around these new powers to expend slated for your fall session, you know, September through to January, February. And part of our work when we look at developing policies or bylaws to bring to you for your consideration is that scan, that environmental scan. What are similar units with similar structures, similar tax bases, maybe similar development pressures, those sorts of things? What's going on in those communities? So we do that scan. I don't think it would hurt for the municipality of Yarmouth maybe to correspond with the NSFM and ask them what they're hearing from the other member municipalities in terms of how are they balancing the new powers to expend with no new powers to raise revenue. Because that was your second question in your letter to Minister Porter,
Yeah.
and his response was silent on that.
Is that the direction you wish?
Yes.
So, do we need a motion or just direction for?
Thinking about the future and how you may want to come back and look at how we arrived
Yeah.
somewhere, you may want a motion.
To that? So if somebody wished to make a motion that we asked the CAO to write to NSFM and ask for that information? Councillor Cunningham?
I'll move that municipality district director CAO to write the NSFM and to have them provide additional detail about the impact of this legislation. The impact this legislation will be having on their member units.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for that? Okay, been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Was there any further discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Someone made the point that the second part of our question about raising revenues was not answered. I'm wondering if we should not bring that up, or just move forward with this part here first and then see what happens, I guess.
So my intention would be to basically create a dialogue asking both questions. What's the policy framework around powers to expend that are developing? And what are people doing on the revenue side around that? And we can start there.
Okay, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
So there's no further discussion. All in favor? Question on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Item number 8, new business. 8.1, your July development report. You have that in your package. What is your wishes? The only comment that I wish to make is I see District 7 is in the development this time around. We have some development in my district. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the July development report as presented.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 8.2, the CAO's report. There's got to be some questions in that short report. Can you find it, or does it take up too much space?
So it is an unusually long report because it's there's the quarterly reporting piece included in this. So there's the report on the strategic action item register and there's the financial statements in this report. So it is unusually long.
Councillor Cunningham, you have a...
Yes, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention, and it's bullet 2 on the CAO's report, talking about the Hebron Business Park Phase 2 development. I just wanted to keep sort of bring it up in open council that I believe fully that an important part of the business park expansion, I mean, not specifically Phase 2, but the long-term growth and viability of the park and increasing tax rates, or not tax rates, sorry, tax revenue in the municipality. We will be dependent, I think, on certainly having access to the park in terms of an exit constructed there. So I think we should really look at, and the province knows we'd like to have access there. You know, obviously people want highway frontage, but you've got to also have access, you know, for certainly the service industry and other industries to want to locate in the park. So I think that's something that we should talk about during our capital deliberation, and maybe in concert with the province, right? That we may be able to enter into a shared construction project there for an off-ramp. And I think that would really move the thing along. So just wanted to put that there as a list of things to consider moving forward.
Yes. Deputy Warden?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Out of all this big list of things, I'm going to pick on the most insignificant thing in here through you, Mr. Chair, to the CAO. It says in here, upgrading all computers to Windows 10. Well, a lot of people don't realize that I'm working on an old computer that's quite old. It's running on Windows 7. When do we expect that our computers will be up and running? Because there's a lot of programs actually that this computer will not open anymore. There's a lot of new formats that are coming through via emails. I can't open them on this. It's kind of strange that I can have a Galaxy 9 that can open all my attachments, and my working computer doesn't.
So any councillor who uses a laptop that's the property of the municipality, Mike will be reaching out to you to schedule a time where he'll work on your machines. We were doing the staff machines first. Not at all to say that one's more important than the other, but it is kind of easier to work with the staff first and then reach out to council.
Oh, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. But it's kind of funny. You say upgrade the computers. Most generally, computers become frisbees and end up in our recycling. But I'm glad to hear that they'll be upgrading our old stuff, because I happen to use a municipally owned computer. I choose not to have a own personal one. I'd rather do a lot of stuff on my phone. So thank you very much. Kind of a strange request through all that CAO's report, is it not?
It's important. Your tools need to work, right, councillor?
Councillor Cushion?
Just to add a little bit of fuel to the fire, I think you'll notice that some of us councillors are using our own laptops or tablets for our council meetings and whatnot because of the dinosaurs.
Yep. Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Yes, under the finance section, there's some information about the ferry terminal project steering committee. Is there any update about about that project and how the ferry service cessation this year, how that is going to play into that at all? Is anything available to us for the public consumption tonight, or no?
There's information on Part A available. There's not information on Part B available. So actually, the project, the Town of Yarmouth's project on the ferry terminal is a little bit behind schedule. There's been a little bit of an HR issue, and we are engaging with the town and a new engineer. So we're adding a little bit of lead time to the project as the new engineer gets up to speed and works with the consulting engineers to get back on track with the timeline. So we are running a little bit behind schedule, and we're working with the province on that to make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences.
Councillor Cushion?
Excuse me. Just a couple of points on the CAO report that I'd like to mention. Our warden had spoke about how busy our staff has been and fellow councillors and going to meetings during the summer and whatnot, and taking in different events and whatnot. But I'd just like to point out to the rest of our council and to the public that we definitely got a very busy fall coming up too, whereas our CAO has put together a steering committee, or we're going to be putting together a steering committee for the Cape Fichu lighthouse area for to provide a better experience down there, the short term for it, I guess. But also, we also have the asset management conference coming up and future work on that. So those two items alone are going to be very time consuming, and our CAO and some staff and council will be very involved with that in the upcoming months. So just to let you know that there is we've got a lot on the go.
Was there anything further? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the CAO's report. Councillor Cushion?
I'll make that motion that we accept the CAO report as presented.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Councillor Allen. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 8.3, Port Maitland Beach Accessibility. Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I believe it was July, and I'm sorry I don't have the exact date, where we met with Department of Natural Resources about Port Maitland Beach. Unfortunately, the total amount that that DNR has to spend in the province per year is $1 million, and so our request for new washroom facilities was denied at present. However, we did have a great discussion about making Port Maitland Beach accessible, and my understanding is that if the municipality would be willing to partner with DNR, in other words, if we purchased the equipment, a Moby pad, which would allow wheelchairs on the beach, and a couple of wheelchairs which have floating wheels, that they would be prepared to take care of them. They would install the Moby pad and would also install an accessible washroom. So I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to investigate the cost of purchasing a Moby pad and 2 wheelchairs with floating wheels for Port Maitland Beach.
Councillor Cushion, you have the floor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll second that motion. It's a very worthwhile project, but we have to look at our beaches in our Yarmouth County area, which that are frequently used. Port Maitland is a provincially owned beach, of course, but it's a very heavily used beach, and we also have other beaches in our municipality that are very well used, and we should be looking at doing something to those too. But I certainly support that as a seconder.
Councillor Cunningham?
Could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion would be to direct staff to investigate the cost of purchasing a Moby pad and 2 wheelchairs with floating wheels for Port Maitland Beach. And I just want to add to that, as not part of the motion, but that if we move forward with that, I think DNR at present is piloting some of these projects, but I've also done some research and found that there are other areas in the province that already have them functioning.
Okay. Councillor LeBlanc?
Thank you, Warden. It just happened last week. I had two complaints about the beaches here, and both of them were for Johns Cove, but I think it pertains to most beaches. They were at Johns Cove, and they had to go to the bathroom, and there was nothing available. They walked to the lighthouse. The lighthouse was closed. I talked to the CAO at that time, and then I didn't know, but there was a porta potty that was put there. Funny, there was a construction going on, and they had a porta potty. Somebody that's building a house, and they saw that, so they used that one. But both complaints that I had said that they didn't think that we did enough as a municipality to fix the problems of the beaches and the tourists. There's a lot of tourists here, although it's down this year. But anyways, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think that's a spectacular idea. I've seen a lot of those wheelchairs and stuff with the balloon tires, so people can have access that have mobility issues able to get to the beach. However, I think I like the intent of the motion. I don't know if we should be directing staff. We have a recreation department that handles a lot of this stuff, and I think this would be much better directed rather than to staff to head up a recreation department to see if that would be a better fit.
So I would,
and I have no problem, don't get me wrong, I have no problem putting forward capital funding for something like this, but I think a better spot for this to be would be in Yarmouth Recreation.
so Yarmouth Recreation reports to me. So if council tasked me with doing this research, I would delegate it where it fit best in the organization.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to be sure
Yeah.
that, like I said, I think this is a spectacular idea and it's something that's needed, but I'd also like to see the application. It's fine for the one thing for us to get the equipment, but we should also make sure that the equipment is out there being used, and we got to make sure that our recreation department is part of that. Whether it be into Milo Boat Club, which would be another spot I can think of. Johns Cove was mentioned. Port Maitland Beach was mentioned. Kelly's Cove is another spot it could be used. It could also be used by our recreation department to help get seniors with mobility issues out to different beaches and stuff. Yeah, so it's a great project. I understand that.
Except that, Deputy Warden, it's not a mobile piece of equipment. You install it and it stays there. Pieces of it get put away for the winter. But it's not a tool that you can move around from.
I'm misunderstanding then.
The pad. The first part.
It's a pad. I for some reason I thought it was like wheelchairs with the big wheels.
Yes.
I'm on, okay, so I'm
So
a little bit unclear.
there's several pieces to the package.
Okay.
Councillor Durkee.
Oh, no, I've got Councillor Cushion first.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but since Councillor LeBlanc did about Johns Cove, I've received several complaints too about the lack of washroom facilities and parking and whatnot at Johns Cove. And I think we have discussed it at our council meetings before that we should be looking at trying to improve that area. And I do know our staff is what's the proper word I'm looking for, is investigating how we can make this happen if possible. It's a very heavily used area down there, and I'm not really concerned if it belongs to the province or it belongs to whoever. All I do know is people need washroom facilities, change rooms, parking areas, so they don't have to do their business in the tall grass and just make it very unsightly. We even had a time where we had somebody was tenting on the beach, and one of our volunteers down that way was, they go pick up a litter along that whole stretch numerous times, and they happened to come along the beach, and a gentleman came out of a tent naked and did his business on the beach, and then went back in the tent. So that was reported to DNR, and they put up a no camping sign. But there's needs for our beaches.
Yes.
There's needs for our beaches. You know, we want to attract tourists. We want our citizens to use it. And I'm not quite, and I really don't care where they come from. They can come from the town of Yarmouth, from the municipality of Yarmouth, from Shelburne, from the states. It doesn't matter. We need to promote our beaches, our area more. We do a lot for our Cape for Shoe in our lighthouse. This is just an extension. So I just had to let it out tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll just explain a little bit. There are two components to this. One is a pad where the pad gets placed across the beach so that a regular wheelchair can go down the ramp and then get onto the beach and go down towards the water. The second component is the wheelchairs that float. Now, one of the things, the advantage of doing it first at Port Maitland Beach is that their staff are willing to make sure that they're put in use, they're willing to maintain it, they're willing to store it and bring it out on a daily basis, although the pad gets put down for the summer, and then they're willing to take it out and store it at other times. So, and they're willing to have people to support, the lifeguards would support the use of it at the beach. That's the advantage. In the other locations where there is no park and there are no lifeguards or anything, there has to be someone staff, and which you've mentioned about recreation. There would have to be someone who would be able to take care of that equipment. My suggestion, if our motion passes, would be to try it first with the staff in place at Port Maitland and see how it works, and then go from there. Also, my understanding is that the cost for these pieces are between $2,000 and $3,000 each. So the whole project would be, to get the equipment, would be under $10,000 for that. That's, if I can share that.
Councillor Cunningham.
So this is all just being discussed here for the first time, and there's no supporting documentation or anything like that. So I'm a little bit confused about some of the issues. I mean, conceptually, it seems like a good idea. The issue is not the issue. I'm not saying it's something that I would vote against. I'm just saying my concern would be that it's provincial property. So we're looking at doing some capital work to a provincial property. We don't do it to roads. If it were the Milo Boat Club, I mean, clearly we have a stake there and we own those properties. So, and I'm not sure if this is the right line of reasoning or not. I don't know if it holds any water. I'm talking out loud now. Absolutely, I agree. Accessibility is a huge issue at the beach, and I think something should be done about it. I'm just wondering if this is the right thing and the right way of going about it, and I'm not truthfully sure. I think as a motion's been made and seconded to investigate the cost, I don't think there's anything, we can think about it more. So if we pass that motion, we can think about it more and where that may lead us in the future with other projects. So I'll leave my comments at that.
Okay. CAO, then Patty, you had a comment?
So yeah, just to provide a little bit of context, following up on what Councillor Cunningham said. So there was a conversation that was held between representatives from the Department of Lands and Forestry and municipal councillors and myself, with respect to possible upgrades to Port Maitland Beach. And we received some information about how that department manages capital, manages operations, and they expressed some of the challenges they face in terms of the volume of assets that they manage and the financial resources that they have to do it with. And we talked about some of the challenges around how data drives investment and some of those sorts of things. And so one angle that we brought up was, well, okay, how do you plan to address these assets with the impending accessibility regulations? Well, then we got talking about the Moby pads. And so these pilot projects came up, and what was agreed, and I think what Councillor Durkee's intent tonight is to basically formalize, is it was agreed that we would do some investigation in terms of how much would those assets cost, what type of agreement would be struck between the municipality and the department in terms of if there's a partnership, what are the roles and responsibilities, what would it look like? So I think, and I don't want to put words in Councillor Durkee's mouth, but I think tonight is more or less about formalizing that piece. Getting the numbers, yeah.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Yeah, I was just going at what Councillor Cunningham said about improving the beach, with the Nova Scotia government. But the what do you call them? The Moby pads, and those can be taken out. It would be ours, wouldn't it? So it's not something. There's no structure that you have to build. There would be excavating and stuff?
But we're not even
No.
there yet.
No.
We're not even there yet.
No, but what I'm saying, it wouldn't be part of Nova Scotia government. It would,
Yeah.
if we went, so. Anyways, that's what I'm getting at.
Councillor Durkee?
Thank you. If there was need for excavation, they would do that. They would do whatever they had to do to set it up. It's like this. More and more we're hearing from the provincial government, and whether it's a right thing or a wrong thing, that if we partner on some projects, then things will happen faster. It's the same thing with TIR, and they say that if you want to put shoulders on the road, if you're willing to pay for those shoulders, then we're willing to do it. So essentially, what it comes down to is that things will happen much faster if we're willing to work with them to make it happen. My motion basically is to investigate the cost, just to get the ball rolling. There is ongoing discussion with DNR about this project between myself and our CAO as well. They've been investigating some information since we met with them. So my motion is just to say, okay, how much would it cost, and is this something feasible, which I guess we'll look at if time permits. But I think it would be an awesome project to invest in, and hopefully like to see it done by next summer. Just, I think, as I've said, some of these small projects is just as important as some of the big ones.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham?
No, and I'm satisfied that we've had a good conversation about the context of the motion, and that, obviously the cost, and then things like how we'll come to agreements with the province about who maintains it, who does excavation, who does all these things, including issues of insurance and all these types of things. So the cost and those details will be worked out by staff, and then we can make some sort of determination over the longer term. So I think it's a needed thing, and we'll vote in favor of the motion.
Deputy Warden?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In the future, I would prefer that when we have something like this on the agenda, that we speak about it in committee of the whole first, because obviously it's taken up a lot of the time this evening. I'm still a little uncomfortable, or still, I shouldn't say uncomfortable, I'm still unsure which way I'm going to vote on this, because there's a lot of ramifications that I really have to think about. I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to attend that meeting the CAO spoke about. Please don't get me wrong, I think this is a great idea. I just need more information to make an educated vote on this. And I'm kind of leery. I'd much rather table the motion right now than actually go ahead and vote. I'm not sure if any other councilors feel the same way I do, because I'd hate to see it be voted down, and then we need to go through the process of revisiting the motion, notice of motions and stuff like that, and that's what I'm afraid of. But I'm uncomfortable voting on a motion that I'd like a little bit more information and a little more than just a discussion around the table for the first time, personally.
Councillor Cushion.
I certainly apologize, Councillor Deputy Warden Cunningham, that this motion did come forward. I totally agree that it should have been brought up to the Committee of the Whole. I attended that meeting along with some other councillors in our CAO and DNR, so I'm very up with it. So I guess I perhaps responded a little bit too quickly without us having a good discussion at Committee of the Whole first.
Councillor Allen.
Yes, as far as the motion is going, I'm pretty comfortable with the motion that Councillor Durkee's made, because we're just looking for prices. I'm not so comfortable with I attended the meeting and I didn't feel that we had any kind of guarantees from TNR that they were covering anything yet. There was the possibility of a partnership, the possibility of a lot of things, but no commitment. Now, if our CAO and Councillor Durkee have continued the conversation with them and have such more knowledge than I have of it, that's great. But as far as Councillor Cunningham, I think I understand your concerns. I have the same concerns. I was not comfortable with, I wouldn't say there was any guarantee they would put anything in. There was talk of a partnership. Obviously, a partnership would get us farther. But as far as finding out what a Moby pad and the floatable wheelchairs are, I have no problem looking into the cost. And then I guess at that point, we can further discuss with TNR as to what way to go. But I didn't feel there was any commitment by anyone to cover partnerships. And I just don't want anybody to be, I just feel like that's how this conversation has gone, that there is, as far as I was concerned, there was not any commitment by anyone to put forth any money. So, but as far as looking into the price of it, I have no problem with it. We have beaches and we have people with needs, and it wouldn't hurt to know what this stuff costs in case we want to do it to one of the private beaches or anything. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Last go round. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so I simply asked for an investigation of the cost because we have not finalized anything, but if it was an exorbitant cost, then we might not even consider doing it. So we have to start somewhere, and once we find out if it's something that we might consider doing, then I think then we can start investigating the partnership with the province as opposed to doing it the other way. I don't want to agree to a partnership and then look into the cost of something and then find out that it's not going to work for us. That's why I chose to investigate the cost first, and then so we will have an idea of what it would cost, and also the fact that, yes, what if we wanted to do something around one of our own beaches or lakes with recreation involved?
Deputy Warden.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair, before I call for the question, I want to know exactly what the motion is that we're going to be voting on, once again, please.
And I think, Mr. Chair, it should be read by the recording secretary,
secretary.
so we know, yep.
It was moved by Councillor Patty Durkee and seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion to direct staff to investigate the purchase of 2 Moby pads and 2 wheelchairs with floating wheels for Port Maitland Beach.
I have as a chairman of any organization, you usually chair the meetings. You don't have many opportunities. Did it say the purchase or the possible purchase?
I think it's cost.
or
Did you say
cost?
cost, Councillor Durkee? Yeah.
Investigate the
I
cost.
thought I heard her
Can I
say,
go back here?
I think you said
To
purchase.
investigate, did you say cost?
Yes, I did.
I put purchase.
That's what I thought.
I just wanted to be sure.
To investigate the cost. I didn't like the word purchase.
That's why we do this.
Yeah?
Okay. Now, if I may, on a couple of points to the motion and so on, I support the motion. The issue that I have and so on is I've never been one as a councillor to want to, excuse the pun, to get in bid with the provincial government on purchasing on stuff that is what I feel is their responsibility. Now, I realize that they can't do every provincial beach or every provincial park to be exactly the same from Cape Breton to the end of Nova Scotia, Yarmouth County. But I do believe that they are responsible, if the same as the municipality takes on the responsibility of doing something, we have to maintain, we have to find funding to do it. The provincial government, if they were willing to take on the Port Maitland Beach as a provincial park for a provincial beach and to maintain it, it is their responsibility and so on. But I have no issues with looking at the cost and so on. But I want to bring back to your fellow councillors that you have a say in your budget deliberations. Whether this equipment costs $1,000 or $30,000, you have to make the decision during the budget times of whether you want to spend $1,000 for that equipment or the $30,000 and so on. So I have no issues with finding out, and that's why I asked on the motion. I thought it said, she had said purchase. I wanted to make sure the word was cost. I don't want the word purchase in there, because we're not committing to purchasing that stuff now. We're not making a commitment to the provincial government, and we're not making a commitment to the residents of Port Maitland that there's going to be something, or to our residents, I should say, that there is going to be this equipment there. We're only looking at the cost. So that was my comment. I'm looking for the question on the motion. Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. But it was a good point of order, Deputy Warden, that, yeah, the time allotted for this one discussion. 8.4, extravaganza events, cultural exchange Jamaica. You have that in your package, and as I had already alluded to it and so on, I just want, if you don't mind, just read a couple of the things that is in that information package. Saturday, September 7th, on the rocks at the Lighthouse, will be 5 to 6 chefs cooking Jamaican jerky chicken, Jamaican jerky fish, and more, along with sides and beverages. A fabulous local reggae band, Acadian storytellers from Clare, First Nation storytellers, a big bonfire, sky interpreter, and surprises will be happening during the evening. The event begins at 2:30 with a tour of the trail at the Lighthouse. On Sunday, September 8th, on the shores at the West Pubnico Golf and Country Club, there'll be present Cook Shop 101. The Golf and Country Club, there will be between 7 and 9 chefs, each doing a mini cooking class. Guests will have the opportunity to work with the chefs, then everyone will enjoy what's been prepared. There will be an Acadian kitchen party, music, singing, and lots of fun. The hosts for the evening are Charlene LeBlanc from Argyle and Chris Frotton, CAO from Barrington. This event begins at 4 o'clock. Tickets can be purchased, I believe it's Sid, at the Style Merchant in Yarmouth, at the Lighthouse, and at the West Pubnico Golf and Country Club. And they can also be purchased at www.yarmouthseafoodandwineextravaganza.com. So I just want people to know that it's something new that they're trying, and you know, a nice cultural exchange. Hey, that if they can keep going will be great. So tickets can be purchased and so on that line. A request for a letter of support. I apologize, the warden has not read that. So can somebody, hey, I get it brought up here, why can't I open it? I can't open it.
I can speak to that if you'd
Okay,
like,
go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
please.
So our Director of Recreation is working on making a nomination. In the document, it names a co-nominator with Yarmouth Recreation, and it's with respect to a volunteer who's contributed to the Yarmouth County Trail Development Association for Recreation Nova Scotia Award. It's called the Blue Nose Achievement Award, and it recognizes an individual or a community group that provides or supports activities and services that successfully achieves the values and benefits of recreation. So we know what our trail system contributes to our recreation goals, and we do have a recreation strategy. And so our director, Frank, and Natalie would like to nominate an individual. I think the Trail Association, yep, for this. So what Frank needs is a letter of support from council for that.
So what is the wishes of council? Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't. I apologize. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I know how hard it is to sit up there and look at your computer and look around at the microphone, see who's up. Anyway, I'll make that a motion that municipality district of Yarmouth would nominate the Yarmouth County Trail Department Association, and the warden sign the letter of support.
If I could, Mr. Deputy Warden, I know the motion's not seconded. I can wait until it's seconded
Yes,
if you'd like me to,
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman. So the request is not for the nomination, but for a letter of support for the nomination.
Letters, so it's basically what I said. So I'll revise that motion to make
Letter of support for the nomination.
make a letter of support for the nomination.
Okay, it's been moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Question, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. 8.5. 8.6. Recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee. You have that in your package. Francine, if you'd... Go ahead. Your mic is on, Francine.
Okay. So, the office received an application for alterations. The new owners are in the galley tonight. Carrie and Daniel Doom are the new owners of the Churchill Mansion at 44 Old Post Road.
Okay.
And they would like to make some changes and repairs to the building and the carriage house. Oh, okay. So I made a summary of the alterations that they were looking to put forward. And then I reviewed these with the character defining elements to see which ones were substantial alterations and which ones were not. And although all of their proposed changes are going to substantially alter the look of the property for the better, they're getting rid of some of the lattice work that was not in time and keeping. They're bringing back the roof that overhang on the second level deck of the west side of the property that was there before that had been removed. But those are not character defining elements, but yet they enhance the actual accurate, you know what I'm trying to say, the Italianate structure of the property, so that's a great thing. But the only two things in all their repairs that we have to have a motion on, because they are character defining elements, will be that some of the clapboard and the shingle cladding have been water damaged over the years. They need to replace it. They're replacing it with the same. There's going to be no change. Repainting it. And the windows, the sashing over the windows and the window bracket are starting to rot, so that it also is a character defining element. And it has been noted that they will be replacing it with the same look and material, it's gonna be identified. In the package I put together, there is, on the bottom of the second page, there is a drawing, a very good drawing, I might add, by their carpenter, who is showing us the existing and then to look up the proposed.
I don't think the package was included,
No.
Oh,
just
No.
the recommendations.
I was looking
oh, well, what a
online.
shame. I can send it all to you so you can see. Yeah. So anyways, the recommendation from from PAC,
HAC.
oh yes, HAC, was to replace all the water damaged clapboard siding and corner boards with new wood clapboard corner boards, and then to repaint them, and to repair the window bracketed crowns and trim due to rot. Rebuild trim same as the existing trim by using wood material. Those are the requests that need to be approved by council.
You've heard. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to welcome the Doms to the municipality of the District of Yarmouth. We're happy to have you here. And I will make that motion to approve the application for alterations to 44 Old Post Road.
It's been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Councillor Cunningham, you have the floor.
No, I'm fine. I was gonna make the motion, but I think it's fine as it's been circulated, so I'm in favor of it.
Yes.
We'll be in favor of the motion when the vote's called.
Was there any questions or whatever? I do have one question. I've sat on Heritage before, and I know when there's been a alteration request, that usually has to come before Heritage and become before council. They're not they're not altering anything, they're just replacing with said same. And my question to you, Francie, why would they have to come to Heritage if they're taking out a board and replacing it with, I'll say, an identical board that isn't rotten? Why do they have to go before Heritage and ask?
When you're doing anything that's known as a substantial alteration, is when you're gonna be touching anything that's listed in the character defining elements of the property. And if it's listed in the character defining elements of the property, then it has to be brought forward to council. And there is double hung sash windows with bracketed crowns. So even though they plan on replacing them, we have to make sure that they're gonna replace them to be as they are, so that they could replace them and not put the crowns back. So we
Okay.
want to make sure. And another character defining element, although I agree, we're replacing rotten board, it says clapboard and shingle cladding, so we have to make sure that they're not gonna replace it with vinyl.
Okay.
So because they are listed in the character defining elements, it has to be brought forward to the Heritage Advisory Committee for recommendation to council.
They have to go through all that just to go back and do the same thing. I can't remember when I sat on that board, that was,
Yeah, see,
lot
if
of
it
work.
wasn't listed as a character defining elements where the others are not, then they can move forward. But when you start touching something that's a character defining element, then you need approval from council.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because I remember there was quite a discussion with the previous owners, because they were making some major alterations, let's say a doorway or for a fire escape or something up on the second floor, yeah.
And that's actually, that's one of the alterations that's being done, that doesn't have to be discussed tonight or approved, is that they're gonna remove the staircase from the second level deck,
Okay.
close it off. I believe the door had been blocked by the previous owner, how
Could
did that
be,
go?
yeah,
Or was
that's
it made
some-
for, I forget how it went. Anyways, they're gonna use that deck as a personal deck again.
Okay.
The roof overhang had been removed. They're gonna replace the roof overhang like it was originally.
Okay,
Those don't need to be brought forward because they are not character defining elements.
okay,
But because we do mention clapboard and shingle cladding, we have to make sure that that's brought forward to council
okay,
and approved.
okay. There's a motion on the, oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Question on the motion.
Oh, question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for keeping the heritage of Churchill Mansion, as it was called back in the day. And I imagine you've done some history research on the building itself and so on. And I think it's quite a little landmark within Yarmouth County, because down on the waterfront, on the, I call it the coal shed building, there's a plaque there that describes Rudder Churchill's feats that he done during the repairing of the rudder on that boat and so on. That's where it all came from and so on. So thank you on behalf of the municipality for keeping that tradition and keeping that building the way it is. Thank you very much. 8.7, sorry, 8.7, recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee. Who has that? I've got to go out second here. Second Councillor or Deputy Warden. Let me get it up here. Deputy Warden, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's amazing to me, after sitting on the Planning Advisory Committee for the past 11 years, how when you go through a municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, that you try to think of everything, and then there seems to be always something that comes up. So this evening, we have before us two recommendations from the Planning Advisory Committee. As you'll notice, that one is pretty well next to the other. The first one is in regards to repurposing institutional buildings, and this is in regards to a place on 318 Mood Road. They want to repurpose an existing institutional building into a senior's home. So therefore, we have to move forward. We're going to be moving forward this tandem on council's approval this evening of an addition of a new heading and application statement clause 4.37, repurposing institutional buildings. We got to move forward with a public hearing on that, and also we've got to move forward on a recommendation to proceed to a public hearing on a development agreement in regards to that institutional building. So this evening I'm going to bring forward both of those recommendations in order. So I so move that council proceed to a public hearing to amend the land use bylaw with the addition of the new heading and application statement clause 4.37, repurposing institutional buildings.
It's been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, you ready for the question? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And also, in a tandem with this first motion that we just moved forward, I'll make a motion for council to proceed to a public hearing of a development agreement with Straight Ahead Ministries, PID number 901-311-60-318 Mood Road, Somerville, to repurpose the existing building to a seniors boarding home with up to 23 units.
Been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Was there any, if I may, you said 23 units?
Up to.
Up to 23. I was at the previous PAC, and I don't know, why am I thinking 24? I thought the request had been 24.
No, up to 23.
Up to 23.
Up to 23. Okay, no, I'm fine with that. I just couldn't.
If it's also in the PAC meeting minutes, and all the information is also public to anyone who wants to go online on the municipality's website and see the proposed repurposing of the existing building. I personally think that this is a spectacular way to repurpose some of the older schools and stuff out there. And like I said at the very beginning, before I spoke and put these motions on the floor, was it's funny that I can sit on PAC for 11 years and hope that you think of everything. You certainly don't think of everything, and I would have never thought for the life of me to use an old institutional building for something that's needed in our community, senior housing. Councillor Durkee and I had spoke about that during the PAC last Wednesday night, and it's something that's needed. So anyway, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
my motion's on the floor. It's been seconded.
Was there any further discussion on that? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving in, I'm sorry, 8.8. I'm sorry. Apologize. Go ahead.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, to the
Yes,
CAO,
development agreement. I'm sorry.
in regards to the public hearings, will they be set at the next regular council meeting, which is
I was going to say the
September
yeah.
the 28th, I believe?
Is it the 28th? So we have the time to advertise, so absolutely, if the time is there, then we'll schedule them for the council meeting.
And I do believe that we need to do 2 consecutive advertisements in a local paper.
That's right.
Pardon me?
In-
25th.
In a local, that are published locally.
Published locally,
Yeah.
correct. So that will give us more than enough time to have that come up on the council meeting on September the 25th.
Yes, that's right, the 25th. The 28th is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. 8.8, water shortage issue or water issue. Councillor Durkee.
Mr. Chair, I noticed in my area, people have commented on having some issues with shortage of water in their wells, and I'm wondering what support that we can provide. I know it's not to the extent it's been in the past, but there are those who have had some issues, and I know we have our well drilling program, and in the past, the Mariner Center, people have had access to that, and for showers and for water, and I'm wondering if we can provide the same this year.
Is there any discussion and so on that? Hearing none from my fellow councillors, I have a couple of comments to make on that. Believe it or not, before August rolled around, I had been, just at the end of July, I had a couple of people approach me and ask where could they get water, wanted to know if the Mariner Center was going to do it. And I said, not to my knowledge at that time, their wells weren't dry. Their wells weren't dry, but they were low, very low. And what the people had been doing, they hadn't been using their water supply. They'd been using it for doing laundry, taking quick showers and toiletry. But they hadn't been using any large amount of water, and their wells were down to 2 feet, and one was at a 1.5 foot, and it was going to start sucking air. And I mentioned to them at that time that they could get tokens, and I knew that up in South Ohio at the tower up there, you can get fill the 250 liter or whatever, or 250 gallon, those plastic tubs and so on. So a couple of them went there. And then about a week or so after that, I had a gentleman on the Scott Road get a hold of me, and their well was right down, and they wanted to know if they could, if they were willing to pay for it, they would be willing to go over to the fire hydrant at the industrial park, go underground, because they had done that before out at the reserve across their, on the airport stretch. They were able to go across the highway underground and hook into the hydrant because their well had gone dry. This was years ago. So they were looking at the same thing. So I know that people are out there, and I'm not saying that we're getting calls and inundated, but there is a lot of people out there that are having some issues. But what's happening, I think now we're going to see, I'll say within the next week, is, and I forgot to mention it here, that the school starts on, I believe it's September 5th here. So you have kids that are going to start wanting showers and so on, and I think we're going to find that there is going to be an issue coming up, that wells are not going to be able to handle those kids getting a shower every day and so on. That's just my intake on it. Go ahead, Councillor Christian.
I've had a couple of people in my district too that their wells have dangerously low and whatnot, and requesting if they could be able to get water from the Mariner Center again, because over the years I've hauled it for them, or made arrangements for some of the people that work for me, haul it for them at no charge. And we found out that the Mariner Center is not doing it this year, so it's kind of disappointing that we're not here to help out our our citizens in our municipality when they're in need for something like that, so.
I'd like to speak, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
So, our EMO coordinator and I have been in touch regularly about the weather and the water. I think what we're seeing is a result of 2 years in 4 years where we had what the province of Nova Scotia classified as a drought. So water tables haven't recovered. So from Environment Canada on August 14th, we do have a report indicating that we are in a rain surplus situation. Even though we've had 3 dry weeks here, we are still in a rain surplus situation. I think what some of our residents are experiencing is the fact that the water tables aren't recovering. So to Councillor Durkee's question that she asked is, you know, what programs are available? We have our well water lending program, and we also can be a referral partner. If an individual is not able to borrow money for whatever reason, we can refer to some other supports, for example, the Housing Authority, who helps look after grant programs where people need things like that. So we're here. The staff is available to help find solutions for homeowners who are facing water problems. With respect to the Mariner Centre and offering water and not offering water, so in 2016 and in 2018, the availability of water at the Mariner Centre was based on a coordinated emergency response between the municipality of Argyle and the municipality of Yarmouth. It's my understanding that our 2 EMCs for Argyle and Yarmouth have not made a request that we develop a coordinated response. I do understand that for a period of time, there were some services available at the Mariner Centre. The general manager had done that without the approval of his board, and to my knowledge, the board had not asked the 2 owners of the Mariner Centre if that could be done. There is a cost associated with making water-based services available at the Mariner Centre. So the response has got to be coordinated and the expenditure has got to be approved.
Councillor Cushion, go ahead.
A comment that you made, CAO, on Environment Canada's statistics on water levels, is that for the Yarmouth area or Nova Scotia?
So the report I received at 8 a.m. on August 14th is specifically for Yarmouth County.
Okay, because I know there's been rain in other parts of the province.
Was there any further comments? Someone? I have one. I don't like it. Personally, as a councillor, if I was sitting down there and one of the chairs, I don't like it. You sat here this evening and talked about the possibility of purchasing some wheelchairs and a ramp and so on, and have debate and so on that. And when you have residents, and I'm not saying that they're flooding in the doors, but whether it's 1 resident or it's 700 residents, go without water. Each and every one of us go without water for a week, and let's see if you're not at the door. I don't care if it costs $10 at the Mariner Centre to fill that tank, or $4.55 for a token. I believe the people that are low on water right now would pay $4.55 at the Mariner Centre to be able to get water. They just want to know how they can get water. So if I live next door to Mr. Cushion, he has a tank, and I say, will you get me some water? Yes. I give him $4.55, and he can go up to Mariner Centre and pick up that water. And I don't know, and no disrespect to my EMO coordinator, they're doing an excellent job and so on, but let them go without water and see when they come knocking on the municipality's door and ask, you know, how can I get water, where can I get water? And no disrespect, CAO, if you say, well, I have a water lending program and you can borrow up to X number of dollars and you can pay me back and so on, that doesn't satisfy me. It puts me further into debt. I would like to see this council stand up and say that let's support anybody who needs water, and whatever it costs us at Mariner Centre for them to get it, whether they have to pay the $4.55, if that's the request that we put in, that they have to pay $4.55, that they can go and get water. They're in the desert. They want water. They'll cut off their arm to get that water. I know I'm exaggerating, but I'm sitting here being frustrated that you talk about wheelchairs and stuff on a beach for people who want to get in the water, and, hey, but we won't let you have water. We won't support you to get water. I'm sorry, councillors. I'm sorry, but that's my feeling. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do also have concerns that if our residents need water, they should be able to access it. And I know they'd have to go to the town to get tokens, to go out to Lake George to get it. So my question is that, part of my question is it not our decision? Is one part to decide whether or not that we want to start that program that we did last year, and the other question is, how much did it actually cost? I know there was a cost for it. In the big picture, I don't know, through the chair to Madam CAO, do we know the figure that we ended up spending last year?
So the actual water bill was just north of $4,000 because the Mariner Center did not charge us for their staff time to provide access to the water. So a program would not just include the actual cost for buying the water from the town of Yarmouth Water Utility, but it's around how do we make it available, how much staff time is involved, what are the hours going to be, and is there a fee? Is there a fee? Because if we pay for it through the general rate, everybody in the municipality of Yarmouth is paying for that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying we need to understand that. If council chooses that for now, based on the scope and the scale of the issue, it's user pay, then that's council's prerogative as well.
Councillor Cushion.
Thank you. Interesting topic. There was a concern about staff time and whatnot. I don't know how many people are aware of this or not, but the manager of the Mariner Center, Gil Dares, purchased the water tank himself, and he loaned it to whoever wanted to haul water. Now, the two seniors in my district who have been looking for water, they don't have a tank, they don't have a truck. I hauled, or made arrangements to have hauled, 14 loads of water last year. It was my own expense, for my own vehicle, or my own people working for me. I paid them. The Gil was good enough to loan us the tank. As for staff helping out, you pretty much looked after it yourself. They had a hose out there. Actually, they had two hoses out there, and you just went and filled it up. So it's good to have different programs in place, but when we're talking about seniors, a lot of seniors don't have a truck. They don't have a tank. All they want to do is just have some clean water to try to look after themselves, and I think it's our responsibility, if they can't do that, is to help them. I know there's programs out there, but seniors like to keep things very easygoing, very simple sort of thing. So, and I think that's a very important need that we should fulfill if we can.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Mr. Warden, I agree with you 100%. And as far as the public paying for the water that they don't need themselves, I don't agree with that either. If we have something done at Milo Boat Club, the taxpayer pays. If they don't have sidewalks, they pay for the other people's sidewalks. South Ohio only has sidewalk for 300 feet or whatever. So the taxpayer pays for everything. I don't agree with that everybody pays for water and they don't use it. They don't need it or whatever. Because our tax, the tax dollar from every citizen is used on everything that we do. So I agree with you, Warden, 100%.
Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah. So I'm trying to understand I mean, we put the water, we made water available as municipal units in the Mariners Center specifically on a couple of occasions because of the gravity of the drought. And to my knowledge, that's the only time that we've really done that. So are we talking about doing it every year? So we're not currently in a drought situation technically, correct?
It's my understanding is you are correct.
So, yes, but there will always, so what I'm saying is, our history is that we've done these things in certain situations. So what we're now saying is we're doing it whenever anybody wants water. Anybody, is that, I'm not just certain what we're talking about doing. We've had a program in place twice when the drought's severe.
Yes.
And we've got a threshold for drought, and we've done something which I agree with totally. And I'm not saying I disagree with, I'm just not sure what we're contemplating doing. So I'd like somebody that's in favor of doing this to explain exactly what it is that we're going to do and what it's going to cost and who's going to do it so we can vote on it, because I'm not certain just what we're voting on.
If I may, my thoughts onto it, Councillor, would be that the municipality would now allow at Mariner Center, again, that a person could go out there and get water in one of those tanks and take it and put it in their well, or help a neighbor put it in their well, because there is a lot of people out there, their wells are very low and they're skimping by. As a matter of point, my son, Old Rock Well, and he debates on which night he's going to take a shower because the well is low. It's an old style, you know, but he has a tank. Would he go to South Ohio? Yes, because he has a truck. But there is a lot of people, as Councillor Cushing has said, that are seniors that don't have that. So if somebody is willing to help them out, if we can ask Mariner Center to still provide that service, that a person could go out there, Lauren could go out there, fill that tank, either we as a council would suggest that they have to pay the $4.55, because that's what it's basically going to cost if they went to South Ohio with a token to get that same set amount. Or we could do it for free, just have them fill the tank and away they go. But they're going to have to be a resident of the municipality of Yarmouth. Because if somebody starts arriving there from Argyle to haul it into Pubnico, I'm not paying for that. Argyle Council can decide what they want to do. But for my own residents, I want them to know that if they have an issue in needing water, that they could go to Mariner Center. I'm not right now in favor of showers or any of that, but to get potable water that they can put in their well so they can flush their toilets and take showers, and that's it. That's what I'd like to see this council do. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I just want to make the point that I don't think people are going to go to the Mariner Center unless they have to. They're not going to go ask for water, tubs of water, unless they really have to. I mean, yes, there could be some people, I mean, I know you can go, if you need a shower, you can go to the Y and pay whatever
You can go
it
to a friend's
costs to
house.
go take a shower at the Y. But if someone is in desperate need of water because their well is low, I don't think we should deny that.
Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
So I don't disagree with any of this. I just don't understand how we operationalize it, because we're not the sole owners of the Mariner Center, number one. Right? So I think we're gonna have to ask staff to go back and look into this a little bit. I mean, and I'm not certain if I'm correct, but I don't know if we can make a motion or give direction here tonight.
Give direction.
We've got other partners at the town. I mean, in Argyle to an extent. I think whatever it is we're going to do, we've got to do jointly. We've done that
Yes, in the past.
previously when it's come to a certain threshold. But I think we need some guidance about just what it is we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And there may be
Yeah.
some legal issues about when you give water out. I'm not certain. Again, this has come up now at a council meeting there's no information really to look through in a sense. I mean, other than sort of a philosophical belief that everybody should have water, and I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, that's pretty clear that we'd like to see that happen. But having said that, there are operational things I think that we'd have to talk about before we could move forward. But that's just my opinion, and I think we should look into it as ASAP, because obviously the water problem's here, but I think we're going to need something better in terms of a direction to staff, because I'm a little bit scared about talking about an operational issue at a governance table and not being clear with staff about just what it is we want and how we want it done and all those other things, right?
Okay. Councillor Durkee.
I agree. We would absolutely have to speak to our partners first to see if that was a possibility and have that approved before we moved forward with it. But could we not consider the process that we've had in the past? Like, what have we done in the past?
Yep.
Right? Whatever we did seemed to work before, so maybe we could find out about or review what happened and.
Yeah.
But yes, we'd have to speak to our partners first and see if they would be willing, and maybe Argyle would want to do the same thing if their residents are having issues.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Allen.
Yes, I guess I was going to go where Councillor Durkee was going, as far as checking with Argyle to see if their residents are having issues as well. And I was kind of thinking, even if we had to purchase some tokens for South Ohio, if somebody's going to travel to get water, I don't know. We had the tokens here. They're under our control. We may have had to purchase them from some of our residents, but then we know it's our residents getting them, and that would alleviate having to check with the town to access the water at the Mariner Center. Like, just throwing that out there, but something, I guess, yeah. All right.
Okay. Deputy Warden.
Just one quick comment. Most people close to town or have access to the public water system. I think it's a great idea that we buy a few tokens, because most people are looking for water or out in the county, away from Mariner Center. They're a lot closer to where
South Ohio.
where you use the tokens.
Yeah.
That's just my only comment. If people want to take the time to drive to town to get the water, well, most generally the people close to town in the municipality district of Yarmouth anyway are on the town's water system. So to me, that's a no-brainer.
Okay. So I guess the question I'm going to ask then is, what is the suggestion of the CAO? I realize this has just been a topic that been dumped in her lap. So what is your thoughts?
No, it's fine. So yeah, I jotted down a few things. Absolutely, I'll work with our EMC and we'll talk about what logistics look like. Is it a user pay situation because of the scale and scope?
Yeah.
What types of controls would we like our partners to put in place, you know, in terms of who's going to staff it? I have some concerns of some commercial enterprises taking advantage of vulnerable
Yes.
people, so we want to be
Yes.
careful of that.
Yeah.
And I will also reach out to our senior safety coordinator, who will do a scan of our clients who we know are particularly vulnerable and check in as we've done in the past.
Good.
And if the chair is comfortable, you know, as soon as I have the data, I can circulate it by email and we can go from there.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's good. That's a good way to handle it. Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chair, you
Go
know,
ahead.
my whole thing was not so much about what was done, it was how it was done.
Yeah. Yeah, how it got out there. True. Okay, then I guess that's everything. We'll move on to number 9, reports. I'm not sure how I got. Okay, Mariner Center Management Authority. Councillor Allen, go ahead.
There was a meeting last week on Wednesday. I was not able to attend. I was away. I was gone fishing, I guess, for sharks. Luckily for me, our CAO was present, I believe.
Mhm.
So she may be able to fill you in on anything that took place.
Yep, so we received a community presentation with respect to an initiative around a splash park. And we received the current general manager's last monthly report, so it was Gildare's last meeting with the board. And then there was discussion around committee appointments. So the minutes are public, and once they're approved at the next meeting, then they'll be available.
Any questions on that? Hearing none. Regional Solid Waste Authority, Waste Check, myself and Councillor LeBlanc. Our next meeting, I think, it's in September. Just around the corner is our next meeting. We don't have one in the summer, but I will happily report. I know a lot of, because as the chair of Waste Check, I sit on regional chairs, which was tasked by the provincial government to do an efficiency study of all of the waste authorities and so on within Nova Scotia. That report was supposed to be done, believe it or not, last October. With all the delays and so on, I'm happy to report that on I believe it's the 13th of September, I will be given that report by the consultants, and we'll be given it a once over, and then it'll go off to the province of Nova Scotia Department of Environment and so on. And it's taken a long time, but that is on the efficiencies of all of the waste authorities within Nova Scotia to see how we can better utilize and better handle the waste within Nova Scotia. It's been a long time coming. The next one is the Western Counties Regional Library. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's an upcoming meeting on September 19th at 1 p.m. I am not able to attend, that I'm out of town, and Councillor LeBlanc is not able to attend, and I believe he's the alternate. So if there would be anybody who would be willing to attend that, again, that's September 19th at 1 p.m. at the library, that would be greatly appreciated. And then I'm the Western Ren, which
Regional,
is
yeah.
the next one. Anybody?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
I think that was one of the committees that got rid of the alternates. I'm not listed anymore here.
Oh, okay. It's a board, so I'm not sure.
I don't think that and I could check, but I don't think that the governing documents for the Ren LNO provide for an alternate. I could
No,
double
not-
check.
Not Ren Library.
Oh, library, I'm sorry. And so it would be the same, we would have to double check.
Okay.
We
right.
did that exercise a while ago, so we'll have to double check.
Yeah,
'cause
I
there's
don't
only
remember.
alternates if the group's body allows for alternates.
Okay, and I honestly don't remember. So if there is, great. If not,
Okay.
so be it. I'll get the information after. But I'm Ren, so I might as well just go right ahead because that's
Yes.
the next one.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding that the Western Regional Economic Network has moved to where Ignite Labs is now located on Main Street. And the Liaison and Oversight Committee authorized the CEO to sign a contract with the COA for the Western Ren to deliver a continuous improvement introductory program and oversee a lobster bait challenge.
A lobster what?
Bait challenge. It's a project they have ongoing.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none. Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, myself, Deputy Warden Cunningham, and Councillor Cushion. That's an emergency meeting tomorrow, yes, 5:15. Okay, are you making it, Councillor? And you are? My intent is to be there. Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourist Association report, or, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, we had a meeting last week, and the first topic that came up was the ferry, of course, and there was somebody had a picture of the terminal in Bar Harbor in May, I think it was, and a picture of it 2 weeks ago, and it was the same picture. It was two pictures taken at different time, no change at all, nothing had been done. But in saying that, Border Security had informed Bay Ferries that this transition was going to take of up to 18 months. Now, why, they thought it was gonna start in June. There's no way that it could, if it was gonna take up to 18 months. So, as far as we were concerned, and our YASTA manager said he didn't see the ferry coming this year at all, in September or anything. So let's hope it starts next year. Neil and Chris went to Sydney on a show, on a cruise show, and they had a good talk with a lot of cruise providers. They said that their contacts were very good. Another thing that Neil said, that I don't know how many, I think it was around 50 or 60 cruise ships that go to St. John, and when they come back, they go to Halifax or Sydney, they go right by Yarmouth. And they were talking to some of the smaller ones, trying to get them maybe in the future to stop and have tours of Yarmouth if possible, like the Fram. The Fram is coming again. And there was a motion by Mr. Rodney. He wants to have an action plan around the ferry economy impact study to commence on October the 1st for the last 4 years, to see what the impact was this year with no ferry. So we can see what the impact was this summer. And the room nights from last May to this May was down 15% in the tri-counties here.
How much?
15%.
I heard 31.
That's what it says right here.
Yeah, okay, 31. 15%.
15%.
Room nights down.
Yes. It's got it. Okay.
That's what I
The
heard.
report is wrong then. Huh?
No. It's all right. I mean, no, we know they're down, so that's.
Yeah.
Was that your report, Councillor, or do you have?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Yarmouth County Solid Waste Park, Councillor Cushion, I wasn't at the last meeting. Do you have anything to report? Yes, yes. Yeah, I seen that, yes. Yarmouth International Airport Corporation, there's been no meeting. We have one scheduled.
September 9.
So we're gonna say September 9. I knew it was in September and so on. Advisory, the Audit Committee, myself and Councillor Cunningham and Deputy Warden Cunningham is alternate. We have a meeting tomorrow at noon. You're gonna be able to make that? Okay. You're not gonna sleep in or anything, eh? I never thought to mention to the public, you just got back from your vacation and you just drove all the way from Halifax when you landed here to this meeting. And you told me how many kilometers you've been traveled today was how much? 16,000 kilometers you traveled. CAO committee report, there's been no meeting. Doctor recruitment, Councillor Durkee, is there? Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we had a good meeting on August 21st. I will be speaking to Greg to find out about our clinics and what we have to offer. We discussed family medical practices versus hospitalists and the different wages that they received, and this is an issue because those who work in the hospital, hospitalists are people who basically work on they're family doctors, but they work on the floors in the hospital, and they don't have any overhead like family doctors. So there is a real issue with family doctors wanting to go into practice. They don't because of the cost. So we're going to talk to to see what it would cost to have people go into the clinics, and so that we'd have that information to provide and see if there's any incentives anybody can provide for them. For the community navigator position, there were 21 applications. 10 were sent out questionnaires, and then 5 interviews were done. The committee, there were 7 interviewers on the committee, and that consists of Dr. Harold Cook, Dr. Brian Moses, Mayor Pam Mood, Darcy Sutter from Canadian Tire, and just to let you know that they have contributed, they're contributing $3,500 per year for the next 3 years. Rick Allwright and either Dr. Sheila Leahy or Peggy from Nova Scotia Health Authority. So a couple of people have alternates. The Deputy Minister Tom Mary was here and met with Dr. Brian Moses, and they had some good discussions, and he took them for a tour of the hospital and kind of said, look, especially in Emerge, took them through Emerge, and there were a ton of people sitting in there, and this is what we have to deal with, and felt that he was taking everything in. So that was a really positive experience. Let's see. The announcement of who got the position will be made any day now, and that position is supposed to start September the 9th. And we are still looking at the whole recruitment process and wondering about why all of our residents don't automatically get an offer, and there was a discussion about how the actual residents were feeling under offered, and so we need to talk to Nova Scotia Health Authority to move forward and make some fixes with that. Apparently they've never done that in the past where they've automatically made offers, but the doctors are getting offers from all over the place, so we have to make sure that we're in the running, you know, to get as many people as we can to stay here. Thank you.
Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I don't know how to put this politically correct, to tell you the truth. I'm kind of really frustrated with this whole doctor retention and recruitment. It's not the committee I'm frustrated with. It's the Department of Health and the provincial government who's supposed to be running this. Councillor Durkee just in a report had mentioned about the wage disparities between doctors that work in hospitals and doctors that have their own practices. That's not something that this committee can fix. I think they should be really focusing on getting names, numbers, putting together packages of this is places where you can stay, this is where you can get set up. We have a beautiful Harbour South Medical Clinic, or down in Pimlico. These are the contact people and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put this very nicely, and I don't mean, I want to be very correct on this. I don't believe that we should be doing the work of the Department of Health, because we seem to be advocating, we're doing doctor recruitment, but we're also advocating about what's wrong with the health system. We know what's wrong with the health system. I think the health system knows what's wrong with the health system. It's just that we should be working on doctors and getting names and getting them approved to be here. There's going to be some hurdles in that. I'm not criticizing the committee at this time because I don't know enough of what they're doing, but I really appreciate Councillor Durkee's thorough report that she gives on this. I'm just a little leery at this time.
Can I answer to that, please?
Yeah, I'm going to say, yes, go ahead. I see your light's still on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I totally understand, Deputy Warden Cunningham. There are a number of people who are coming, doctors who are thankfully coming, and that's something that when the community navigator is in position, they will be putting together those packages, and they will be doing a lot on that end of it. But it doesn't hurt when you have a group of people representing the municipality, the doctors from the area, etc., to be an advocate and to make things happen. And I think that's part of the issue. Is I know in talking to Grayson Fulmer, and I said, why aren't our doctors automatically getting our residents, well, we haven't done that before. Well, guess what? If you haven't done it before, then it's time to change it. And thankfully, I have to say they're listening. But yes, should it be coming from us? Probably not. But at least if we can make some inroads and give suggestions that work and they follow through, we'll take it. Whatever we can help with, we'll take it. Like again, you know, our navigator job is going to go out there, and we do have two recruitment officers for Western Nova Scotia. And is that enough? Is that working for us in the best way we feel for us? No. So that's why we're really hoping to make a difference. And I noticed there was an article in just in the paper about the location. I'm drawing a blank, but where they were having a big party to welcome the 11 residents that were there. I don't know if it was New Glasgow. Anyway, so there are other areas also doing, like, yes, we need to keep people. We need to sell this area. We need to tell people why we should be here, and we're the best ones to do that, and that is going to happen.
EMO Executive Committee, there's been no, oh, I'm sorry, Counselor. I apologize. Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. Councillor Durkee, you are doing a great job with this retention committee and navigator. That's great. These are one of these points that Councillor Cunningham had brought up, that it's a provincial responsibility to make sure we have doctor recruitment, have all this stuff, but it's not working. So we have to bite the bullet, which we have done with the support of other councils and other businesses. We have bit the bullet to make it happen, to do the best we can. And I think the group that we got in place right now, I think they're going to make it happen, and we're going to see a difference. I mean, not tomorrow, but you know, down the road it's going to be, because they're asking questions that needed to be asked. The question of the health system is not functioning properly is well known, and hopefully we can do our bit to make it happen. So thank you, Councillor.
EMO Executive Committee, there's been no meeting. Heritage Advisory Committee, do you have another report? Or
I have another very quick report. Yes, we met last week, and as you can see, we have nice people who have just moved into the Churchill Mansion, and changes are coming to improve that home. We also had a lengthy discussion about the cattle pound in Port Maitland, and because the municipality only owns the property that the cattle pound sits on, and we can't have access to the outside of it, it's very difficult to maintain it. So there is a motion coming to just try and do a little bit of research around what we can do. Can we move it? What do we do to make it a better heritage site? Because part of the problem is there's no parking. People can't stop there. There's no signage to say what it is. So there is a recommendation coming from the Heritage Committee about maybe doing having staff do some research, but that'll be updated at the next meeting.
Joint Green Energy Committee, has there been any report? No reports? No, yeah, no, him. Marketing and Promotions and Levy Advisory Committee?
This one quick.
Yes.
Yes, my understanding from the members of the hoteliers that attend is that there are major concerns about the numbers this year, and that my understanding is that they are down 30%. And then that being said, because they're down 30%, the money coming into the Marketing Promotions Levy and Advisory Committee will be less. And so decisions have to be made as to what we get now is what we use for next year. So if we're getting less money now, we have to very carefully consider what projects are going to be funded. And a big part of that funding is to pay for YASTA. And so the concern is, are we actually going to be able to pay for contribute the usual amount of money that has been contributed in the past. And that's still a question mark. I guess we won't know until we get some more numbers in. In addition to that, we're looking at a calendar, an online calendar and online information that the Marketing, Promotions, and Levy Committee can see in terms of, there'll be 3 levels, one that the committee can see, one that the municipalities can see, one that the public can see, in terms of, you know, if we have so many events going on through the summer season, and if you choose to hold an event in the shoulder season, then the chances of you getting, you know, some money, some assistance might be greater, because that's when we need to fill some of those rooms. Again, the whole purpose of it is to put heads in beds, and hopefully next year will be much better than this year. That's it.
Planning Advisory Committee. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You see before you, there's a written report on the update on the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw in regards to instrument of subdivisions and subdivision bylaws. Also, there was a third recommendation that was supposed to come forward to council tonight. However, some people out there may think just sitting as a chairman of a meeting sometimes is just a matter of pointing out who can speak and this and that. It's also the responsibility of a chairman to make sure that the motions that come out of that committee are not contrary to governance and to governance of the municipality district of Yarmouth, and therefore they cannot task a specific staff member to do anything. It was my error to allow that motion to go forward and be voted on. However, that recommendation will be going directly back to the PAC at our next meeting to be addressed.
Thank you. Yarmouth County Joint Police Advisory Committee, Councillor Cushing.
Are we allowed to speak about that at all? The subdivision? Are we allowed
Oh,
to?
I'm sorry.
Can
That's
we-
what you wanted to talk on, you wanted to
Yeah.
speak on. Okay, go ahead.
It was very interesting. I must say, Mr. Lloyd did a great job on the subdivision bylaws. And what really stuck with me when he talked about private roads and about the number of private roads. And all private roads are not the same, which is very important. And he talked about the high density on private roads and so on and so forth. So I think it's an area that we can look forward to expand information on and see how we can work with residents who live on private roads.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm departing.
Do you want help?
No, I think I can manage. I'll try. If I scream, you come
I'm gonna just come walk you to the door.
Did you wish to respond to that, Deputy Warden, or anything, or? No, okay. Just moving on. Okay, then Yarmouth County Joint Police, did you have a report or anything on that, Councillor? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Mr. Chair, for some reason, I'm not on that committee, and I should be. It says there a member, Councillor Lauren Cushing. Was there only one, or was I removed from that for some reason?
I think you stepped down, did you not?
I will check on it.
Yes, please check on that, because if there is a meeting on the 19th, I will be unable to attend.
Same here. I'm on it. Yarmouth Recreation Committee, Councillor Allen, Councillor Cushion, Councillor Cunningham, Deputy Warden. Yeah. Was there any report or anything? You haven't had a recreation?
The meeting's 2 weeks out, I believe.
Okay. 9.31, Network Assessment Management. Do you wish to, I really don't want a report from you on that. Keep it short, please. It's a big project.
I will keep it short. Our CAO and executive assistant Liz will be going to Newfoundland on a conference, and we'll be having one coming up. I think it's the 27th of September, I believe it's in Halifax. So we're moving along with that, and there's some, you know,
A point of
how's
order.
that quick?
A point there, is our CAO speaking in Newfoundland, is she not?
I'm not sure about Newfoundland, but she will be speaking in
Go ahead,
And,
Liz.
yes.
That's what I thought. Both the CAO
Yeah.
and Liz will be speaking in Newfoundland. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make that as a point of order. They just weren't going there for a conference to
No,
listen,
no.
but they are presenting at that conference. So,
But she and I will be speaking
Yes.
also in September
yes,
at the end of the month in
Yeah.
Halifax.
yes.
So,
I will, to my fellow councillors and so on, both the CAO and Councillor Cushion, and along with Liz, have been putting, along with the rest of it, some of our staff, don't please get me wrong, have been putting a lot of time and effort into the assessment and so on. It's a big project and so on, and they've been doing an excellent job. Fence Arbitration Committee, we have not had to meet. Municipal Alcohol Project, Councillor Cushion, what's your name? Go ahead.
okay, we got a meeting, it hasn't been formally set yet, but there is a new person that took over Larry Phillips' job.
Yes.
And we'll be having a meeting sometime in September, is my understanding of, that's
Okay.
gonna happen, I'm not quite sure when.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we're moving into item number 10 is the in-camera recommendations, and I believe there is a couple of, or 3, 4, 5. Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Right, I'll move the municipality of the District of Yarmouth deemed surplus properties, PID number 9016037, 901-60367, and the other PID number is 903-02902. So we deem those properties surplus and direct the CAO to divest them.
Okay. Been moved, do we have a seconder? Been moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next is on the steering committee recommendations for the Cape for Shoe Light. Sorry. Councillor Cushion.
I would like to make a motion that Mike Cunningham, a former member of the Friends of the Light, Yarmouth Light Committee, to be appointed to the steering committee.
Been moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Deputy Warden Cunningham. Was there any further discussion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. And go ahead, Councillor.
Secondly, I'd like to make a motion that Councillor Gerard LeBlanc, present member of YASTA, be appointed to the steering committee also.
Been moved by Councillor Cushion. Is there a seconder for that motion? Been moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Councillor Allen. Any further question or discussion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded,
yes,
motion carried.
nominate me.
And third is we need one councillor from the municipality of Yarmouth to step up and sit on that. Councillor Allen.
I'll make a motion that Councillor Lauren Cushion
Sit on that.
sit on the steering committee for Cape Shoe Lighthouse.
Been moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Any further discussion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. My last comment, unless there's any further, go ahead, Councillor.
I'd like to make one comment. Back in August 24th, there was a dedication to the interpretive panels down at Fish Point, which is the Yarmouth Bar area. If anybody has a chance to go down and read those interpretive panels, it's amazing the history that's along that Yarmouth Bar area. And there was, our warden was there to present a certificate for the dedication of those interpretive panels on behalf of the municipality of Yarmouth. And our MLA, Zach Churchill, could not attend. And since I was a councillor who represented that district, he asked me if I would present a certificate on behalf of him, in which I did. Now, they're doing fundraiser first of all, they got the interpretive panels there. Secondly, they want to put armor stone around the border of this particular property. And an interesting fundraiser they had, the fundraiser is to purchase a armor stone rock, which costs $130 to be in place. So what a great idea for a fundraiser. And there was one contractor down there, I won't say who he was, but he wasn't there for that. So I asked him, I said, what are you doing, counting the number of rocks that you need? So, but it's a great idea, $130 a rock to do that. So I'm sure they'll do all right. So
Yeah.
it's a well worth
It is.
project. It's very interesting. And again, the resident down there, Mike Cunningham and Gert Sweeney, along with the Yarmouth County Historic Society, of course.
Yes.
You know, they did a lot of research and made it all happen. And the lobster sandwiches were delicious. I had one, maybe two.
I had one.
Anyway,
Honestly.
good.
I
Thank you.
had the one. Okay. My last comment for the evening, unless anybody else, is the school season is starting again here in another week. I'm asking everybody, the residents, please be careful and cautious for all the young children that'll be going to school for the first time, and the ones that are going through second and third year. They're anxious and excited and so on, so please watch out for the kids in the stop school buses and so on. If there's nothing further, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Allen. Thank you very much.